What's going on, everybody? This is Damien with Monoloba Health. This is a company that I run with my wife. I am the certified nutrition coach and also the COO of our company. And basically what we do is peptides, weight loss, direct primary care. We do NAD plus supplements, all kinds of stuff. We do basically the whole gambit of health and wellness. We operate here out of Hawaii. We're also in Florida, Colorado, and Washington. So today I basically want to talk to you guys about what my journey was, like how I came not only into health and wellness and fitness, but also the stack that I am currently taking for myself. And so I'm going to run you through the gamut of like what my lifestyle was previous. As I was getting older, how the symptoms started to creep in, and I just attributed it all to really two things, but mostly the fact that I was just getting older. I thought that the things that I was going through was absolutely normal. Turns out it is normal, but shouldn't be. And so that's what we're going to get into, and I'm going to tell you about what I'm taking, and then we'll just go from there. So I'm going to walk you through the gamut. So I've always been an active person. Even as a kid, I was always active. I was never a video games person. I'm not going to knock video games. If you're a gamer, good for you. But if you're letting it take control over your health, well, then that sucks. Don't do that. So I was never a gamer. I was always active. And so the first sport I ever played was T-ball. That was the cheapest thing to get into. We didn't grow up in a wealthy family by any means. That was the sport that I could get into that didn't cost a lot of money, and it was through the Boys and Girls Club. And so I was in the Boys and Girls Club. That got me hooked on sports in general. I attempted soccer, hated it. Wasn't very stimulating. I needed something that was a little bit more stimulating than that, and something that was actually a little more challenging than just cardio. When I got to high school, I thought I was going to try out for football, but I was really small. I was 135 pounds. I had the athleticism. I didn't have the weight, and I didn't have the strength. I didn't have the muscle. The likelihood is that I was going to join football and I was just going to sit on the bench. And so I landed in wrestling. And wrestling I became just so happy with. I became super obsessed with it because the challenge there, not only was the cardio a big challenge, it was the type of cardio, it was the drills, you had to be strong, you needed the technique, the psychology around wrestling and being a wrestler and training in wrestling is significantly different than anything I've ever attempted ever in my life. It is so, you have to have the best mental fortitude ever. So when I got out of high school, followed that up with MMA. And so I just started doing mixed martial arts, specifically Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I did that for about 6 years. Mid to late 20s is when I stopped doing that. Started getting some injuries, got into a car accident, messed up my back. In those areas, in those times in my life, I felt on top of the world though. I had so much energy. I was strong, my physique was great. As I started getting away, as life started happening and I started getting away from my fitness priorities, I started eating trash food, which when I was younger, by the way, was eating all kinds of trash food. And maintaining my physique, I learned later in life that that stuff catches up with you. You can get away with it when you're young because you're not feeling the effects that you are going to feel later for making those choices. Your ligaments don't become as strong because they're not nourished as much. Same with your muscles. You get more injuries. It takes you longer to recover, and you start to feel those effects as you get older. But you contribute them to being older. You don't contribute them to being older and also that you've got crappy habits. As I got away from my fitness, I started eating a bunch of garbage and I started drinking a lot, like young people drink, like 21-year-olds drink. It's every weekend, and then every weekend turns into every day. What I started learning over time, approaching my 30s, is a lot of symptoms started creeping up that I was only contributing to getting older, and so I didn't think that there was a fix. I tried working out more, thinking I could escape what was actually going on with my body. I got to a point where the damage was done. I've done so much damage internally to my body, and basically what I'm getting at is I wrecked my hormones. I mean, everybody hears about the microplastics, everybody hears about environmental toxins that are floating around that we're always driving through, freaking brake dust, what they're spraying on food, all of that stuff. The glyphosate that we keep hearing about, microplastics I've already mentioned, and then just hyper processed foods. And then you add alcohol on top of that, and then you add stress on top of that, which I had a lot of stress at the time. Then I had a very, very physical job working in a warehouse that I'm positive for the first year and a half was not safe to be in. Concrete dust floating around all over the place. So all that to say, my hormones took a deep dive. Dumpster fire is basically what they were. I didn't realize that that's what it was at the time. And so around my 30s now to 35 is when I really started suffering like significant symptoms. I was always tired. That's like no matter how much water I drank, no matter how much good food, I was grilling so much food. And I'm not talking grilling like barbecue grilling. It wasn't like sauces and rubs that are just full of sugars and things like that. Like I was very careful not to put sugar on anything and not drink my sugar either, which is another problem. I felt that at the time I was eating how I should be eating. My protein was high. I was working out, sorta. I wasn't working out very consistently. Like it would be 3 times a week, and then it would be 2 times a week, and then it'd be 3 times a week, and it'd be 2 times a week. My lifestyle habits weren't perfect, but they weren't the worst by any means. Even though I was doing these things that on paper should have been helping, drinking a bunch of water, 64 ounces plus a day, getting my protein in, trying to go to bed at the same time every night. When I started making the better choices, I realized that my symptoms were not changing. Let's go over what the symptoms were. I was always tired. I would do things that if you had me do that task 5 years prior even, the amount of effort it seemed to take to accomplish the same thing was pretty substantial. I'll give you an example. So the easiest workouts that we all do is where everybody starts is you do 3 sets of 10. Pick whatever exercise it is, and then you do 3 sets of 10. We all start out there. For me to do 3 sets of 10 when I was 35 versus doing 3 sets of 10, well, let's just say bench, if we're doing bench press. If I did 3 sets of 10, okay, so 30. If I did 3 sets of 10 when I was 28, 30 years old, I could get it done relatively easily, as most of us could. 3 sets of 10 at 35, I can still get done, but how long it would take me to recover between sets was pretty crazy. 2 days after, 3 days after, I still feel like I was recovering from these exercises, and I'm like, what is going on? I'm eating protein, I've got my shakes, and like, what is happening? Come to find out, at 35, this problem gets so much worse. And that was just, okay, so that's just one symptom. So that was fatigue. I had mood swings like a crazy person. I'm just putting it out there. I'm not scared to say it. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. My mood swings were banana sandwich. They were up and down and up and down. I'd have no reason to be in a bad mood. I could have the best day ever. And then like that, all I do is just sit down on the couch and now I'm in a bad mood. My sleep was trash. Another one is super low libido. That was becoming a problem, as you could imagine. And so I'm having all these symptoms and I'm like, there's no way all of these symptoms hit me this hard at 30, 32, 33, 34, 35. So finally at 35, I'm 37 now, I'm about to be 38 in September. At 35, I was like, I talked to my wife, I'm like, something else is going on here. I'm depressed all the time with not a lot of reasons to be depressed. I'm like, my mood is up and down. I can't sleep. Every time I work out, I'm not getting stronger. I'm not getting better. It's almost like the more I work out, the worse I get at working out. So she's like, we need to test your hormones. I can't believe a hormone disruption is something that never crossed my mind. When she mentioned that, it's almost like the light bulb went off right then and there. I just knew in my bones that's exactly what it was. And it's funny that all she had to do was say, we need to test your hormones. We test my hormones. I go and get my labs done. Okay, we do a full panel. My labs showing that my testosterone was 500. My optimal level is between 9 and 1100. So I was significantly low. When I'm at level 500, I feel like I'm slowly dying inside. And I can't do anything. I have no ambition. I have none of that stuff. And so what that led me to is being a lot more intentional. So we tried to raise my testosterone naturally. I was able to raise my testosterone naturally by like 120, and I still felt like crap. It was apparent I needed to be in that 800 range. Now there's a bunch of different ways we talked about doing this. One of the best ways to do it is to just get on something called enclomiphene. And so what that does is it helps your body naturally continue to produce and stimulate the production of making its own testosterone. And that can boost your testosterone all by itself. And you don't have to do the injection. I know a lot of people don't like to deal with the needles. And so that's a really good way to do it. Just one man's opinion, okay? This is not medical advice. I have a patience problem. I wanted to get everything that got me feeling better right away, but also didn't want to lose my ability. So I was conscious of both of those things. But now I'll give you my stack. I take enclomiphene because I want my body, I still want to be fertile, and I still want my body to produce its own testosterone. Once you start doing injections, your body's like, oh, we're already getting testosterone, we're just going to shut it off. I also take testosterone twice a week. I'm just under 200 milligrams a week. I also take anastrozole. So anastrozole is good for making sure that my body isn't converting my testosterone to estrogen. That's where you get your mood swings, you get your highs, you get your lows. And then I take NAD+, because I got all these injuries. NAD+ has got a billion benefits for it. The three things that I like it mostly for is its anti-aging properties down to the cellular level, so like literally down to the molecules of your body. Really good energy boost. So when you take it, you get what everybody's calling is the rush. And the rush that I get from it feels freaking awesome. Your body already makes NAD+, so you're not putting like a foreign substance into your body. And then I also take it for recovery. Is super crucial, and it's harder for your body to recover as you get older. I use it to help me recover from workouts. It helps get rid of the inflammation in my body. I got 2 shoulder injuries and a bunch of bulging discs from my car accident, and so it really helps me out with that. That's the stack that I'm taking. Then I'm also taking supplements, like I take vitamins, and I have my like post-workout shake that I take that has like 30 grams of protein and like 12 superfoods in it. The whole point of me telling you all this is there are symptoms that we go through as we get older, especially in us men, that are not just because we're aging, but it's because all of these other things that are affecting our bodies from the inside out are making it difficult for us to have our longevity, to keep our strength, to keep a fit body, to keep a fit frame, to be strong, to be capable and functional. It's not just getting older that's taking these possibilities away from us. It's the things that we're eating and the things that we're drinking and all these environmental hazards that are affecting us on a daily basis that are making it very difficult for our body to continue to make testosterone. And we are not our best selves because of it. And it's through no fault of our own. Some of it is fault of our own, but a lot of it has nothing to do with us. It's got everything to do with our environment. And so it was turning me into somebody that I hated. And I didn't want to stay in that space. I want to be capable for my wife. I want to be the man that she needs me to be. She needs me to have that ambition. She needs me to have that strength. She needs me to have that mental clarity and that focus so that we can build a business like we're building together. If my hormones were still wrecked while I was trying to do this, just point of fact, black and white, I would not have been able to do it. Now, I absolutely am the person that can carry that weight. So much so that our ambitions are far bigger and far greater than they were when we started doing this 2 years ago. I feel great. I feel better than I did when I was in wrestling in high school, and that was technically my peak. What's crazy about that statement is I don't feel like I'm at that peak yet. I think there's more for me to attain. I'm very, very excited about that. I just wanted to share that story. We all had our prime at one point in time, but that prime doesn't need to be over. Maybe the prime looks different. The prime might be better now if you get yourself serious about finding your health and getting yourself optimized. Not optimized so much that you're tracking literally every single thing that you do. I think that that's just a miserable way to live. You want to be able to live your life. I am tracking it in a way where I can make myself the person that I want to be by just moving the needle a little bit every single day, and then choosing one thing at a time to focus on. And ever since I did that, I feel the best I've ever felt. I don't look the best I've ever looked yet, and that's due to myself. I'm trying too many things, I think, at once in terms of exercise. I need to pick a plan and stick to it, and that's something I always want to do, like a new exercise. And so first I was just doing calisthenics. Now I've fallen in love with kettlebells, and I think I'll be sitting in the kettlebell space for a while. If you want to look at some kettlebell workouts I'm doing, I have 2 videos posted. You can go check those out. But I wanted to just share that story with you guys. If any of that is relatable to you, men who are watching this, if you ever had any of those symptoms, the low libido, the lack of ambition, tired all the time, just feeling the fatigue, you're getting this belly fat that you just can't seem to get rid of no matter what you do, bad sleep, and all of the above. If that's something that you're facing, then maybe getting your levels checked is something worth thinking about. If you're in the Colorado, Washington, Florida, or Hawaii area, we actually service those areas. So if you wanted to reach out to us to help you go through that journey, obviously we're more than happy to help with that. I hope you enjoyed the video. If this related to you, hit the like, hit the thumbs up. It really is going to help get this in front of other men who really need to see it, and women, of course. And we want to help as many people as humanly possible, so you don't have to go through the crappy feelings for as long as I went through those crappy feelings. I wish I would have found out this problem closer to my 30 and not into 35, 36, because man, I could have gotten a lot more done in that period of time. Things happen when they're supposed to, I believe that, but thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. I really appreciate you watching and listening to my story. I hope to see you guys in the next one. All of our contact information is going to be in the description below. Like, subscribe. See you in the next one.